friends too long to worry about that kind of stuff. Okay, everybody, welcome to the Goffstown Planning Board meeting. This is our regular scheduled meeting this evening. We'll begin with introductions, and we'll start with Joanne.
Joanne Duffy, Planning and Economic Development Director.
Philip DeBanza.
Gail LeBruck, alternate and recording secretary.
Tim Redmond.
Scott Ozana, Town Engineer.
Colleen Meyer.
David Pierce.
David and Gail will both be voting tonight, as we have a few members missing. Approval and correction of the minutes. We have 2 minutes to discuss tonight. December 7th. Does anybody have anything for December 7th?
Motion to approve with one change I'll discuss.
Okay, go ahead.
Page 10 of 11. Article 12, the vote was 7-0-0, not umlaut 0-0.
Anything else for the minutes for the 7th?
I'm sorry, what article is that?
Article 12, the vote was 7-0-0.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Dave made a motion to approve with corrections. Have a second?
I did.
Over Vanza. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, I was there. December 14th, 2023. I was not at the meeting, but in reading it, I did find on page 4, third paragraph, the word, it should read, Matt Peterson said DOT is short-staffed. We have DES in there accidentally, so it should read DOT.
Well, they are short-staffed.
They are short-staffed.
What's that?
They are short-staffed.
too.
I don't care about that, but that's the wrong agency. DES does not do driveway permits. Well, sometimes they do. Any other corrections for the 14th meeting?
There's a missing sentence,
Page 14,
page 14.
unfinished sentence.
Oh, which?
You said page 14. I said page 14. It's an unfinished sentence that you showed me.
Right, there's a, half the sentence is missing. So the only way,
But where?
page 13 of 14. It's the second sentence after, just below where my name is, that I asked how would, if they came in and looped around, got rid of the third one. The next sentence, there's a shorter driveway and that's, the rest of the sentence is missing. I don't remember what it was.
Maybe you just stopped talking.
Maybe I did.
Highly unlikely.
Maybe Gail told them to stop.
So Gail, could you please go back to the tape and find out what the rest of the sentence was
I can do that.
and amend the minutes
I can do
accordingly?
that. I can do that.
Okay.
Change on page 9, Mr. Chair.
Dave?
Second line of page 9, it starts with the word driveway. I'd like that to read parcel
Instead of driveway?
instead of driveway. That was my comment.
Anybody else have any corrections? Phil, I wasn't here to make the motion, so could you make the motion?
Make a motion to approve with corrections.
Seconded by
Second.
Colleen. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? I abstain. The members of our board have received a court decision on the planning board's approval for the laundromat application, map 18, lot 16A and 17. That is for us to be read. And that is all for correspondence action items. Is that correct, Joanne? Anything else?
Yes, as a follow-up, I don't know if you want a copy or not, but.
About what?
But the plaintiff filed an
No,
appeal.
not tonight.
No, I mean, I don't know if you want a copy for your records.
You
or-
can get it to us at your
Do you want
convenience.
one?
At
Okay.
our convenience. We don't need it tonight.
No, I don't mean tonight. I just want to know, do you want a copy for the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay,
Any other correspondence regarding that case we'd like to have, yes.
okay.
Thank you. All right, well, so we can go right to old business. Map 20, lot 16. Dearborn Village. Joanne, could you bring the board up to speed, please?
Yes.
Excuse me.
Does the record reflect, Joe, that Barbara is here now?
So, let's see, 1, 2,
They were here last on December
We're still missing
14th.
two.
At the time, the application was not found complete. I am recommending that tonight the application is complete. They were asked to provide a waiver, which they have done, so it would be complete with the waiver. They also, as part of this hearing tonight, they also need to present the conditional use permit criteria, as well as the board would need to vote on the waiver, and whether or not the board finds the application complete. I just want to go over what they've done so far. So they've submitted.
Do we need to hear all that? Won't they tell us when they do the application?
Would you rather say it, Matt?
I'd rather hear it once, because Matt's going to say it again anyway. so
Okay, no
Let's just do it
problem.
once.
So if you read through the staff report, there are some outstanding issues. And as we go through the application, we can discuss those things. But I've added a few to the planning department's comments as well, but I'll bring those up when we get to that point.
Scott, do you have anything you'd like to add before we begin? Or you just want to wait till we get going?
I'll just wait till we get done.
Thank you, Scott. Any questions for staff before we get started? Barbara, could I have a motion on completeness, please?
I move to find the application complete with the waiver for being accepted for acceptance purposes of the plan.
No regional impact or radio review, such?
Correct, sir.
Thank you. Who wants to second Barbara's motion?
Second.
Colleen, thank you. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. All right, Joanne, do you have anything we'd like to start with, or do you want to let the applicant begin and run through the items that they have found that they have complied with? Because they had a long list in my packet.
Yeah, I'm fine, just let Matt start, and if he doesn't say something, I'll just add it later.
Well, we'll get it later. So for the record, gentlemen,
So, good evening. My name is Matt Peterson with Keach Nordstrom Associates.
Bob Lamontagne.
thank you for coming.
Mr. Chairman, last meeting when we gave the presentation, as was just outlined, we were short the condo docs, the recording of the easement with the neighbor, and the waiver request. Obviously, those three were submitted for the application acceptance. What would be your preference, Mr. Chairman? I gave a presentation of this project last time. We took some comments from that. I have a list of 6 or 7 that board members asked us about. I've looked into those comments to have answer to those, but I could first do kind of a brief overview if you'd like, or just get into some of the questions and comments that they had.
Well, just for openers, last meeting was non-binding, it was conceptual.
Correct.
So anything that was said or discussed in the meeting is non-binding. So we need to start over, basically,
Okay,
unfortunately.
no worries.
So I'd like you to give an overview, and then we do have a document from Keach Nordstrom, which discusses all the items that were, do you have a copy of this, Matt?
The addressed items, yep.
And then you can go over them individually, and that way we can check them off as we go through. If you have any other questions, we can get back to them, if that's the order you'd like to do it.
I wasn't thinking I was going through the review comments. If you want me to go one by one how they were changed, we can do that.
Last meeting didn't actually amount for the
No.
record.
You just said that we gave you, that's a response to comments for Scott. Like, I mean, that's, if you'd
Well,
like me to
then
go through, that's
we'll-
fine, but
we'll,
that's a little
think
much.
about
I can go through the whole project for you and then kind of touch upon those, I think might be better.
All right, let's just do an
That's all
overview,
right.
please.
There are a few correspondence from Keach Nordstrom dated January 2nd.
Okay,
I assumed that when the chair was referring to going through a letter, it was as to the one to Joanne, not Scott, the chair or board member, that whatever the applicant goes forward as they desire.
well then, I'd like you to sort them out for me, which ones we need to discuss and which ones we don't need to discuss, please.
Well, there's the one that's addressed to me. This is
There
the one
are-
Barbara's referring to.
I have 2 that are addressed to you and 1 that is addressed to Scott.
I got you, Mr. Chairman. No worries. All right, just to give a quick overview here, this property is about 3.6 acres in size. We're located on the north side of Mass Road. This was in front of the planning board a few years ago for a townhouse development with a small little commercial building out front.
What year was that, Matt?
The plan that Scott showed me had a 2007 on it about an hour ago, so I'm going to go with
So that's a
2007.
couple years ago, huh? Go
It
ahead.
was a few years ago, yes.
Yeah. We all been here too long, Barbara.
16.
Go ahead.
That's with the people at the public
Goes by
hearing thing
quick.
too, that I just left.
The plan that's in front of you, sheet 2 of 25, that outlines all of our existing additions for the site. This does require AOT DES approval, so we had to do site-specific soils mapping for that, and that's why you have the extra soils shown on that plan that's there. Currently is an existing house on site. That house was used at one point for a Century 21 facility. It was also used, I think, as an automotive facility or repair shop. But currently, it's a rental house right now. We have wetlands just off the property, just off of Dennis Park Road. Not on our property, but we did have the buffer that was there. We did meet with the Conservation Commission. One of the comments that came up at the last hearing was to verify that there were no invasive species in our project. We do not have any invasive species from the email that we submitted to the town from our representative. I guess, however, there is one that is on the watch list now. And if you guys would like us to remove it, we can remove it, but there is none that are on air at the current time. Sheet 3 of 25 is just a demo plan. We will be taking out the house, the driveway, the trees that are in the back there. The backyard, I think you have probably all heard, has been used for bonfires and different types of stuff over the last couple of years here. We know the abutter last time was here has had some concerns and issues with what was going on there. Obviously, we hope that this will clean up that issue for him and move it forward. Sheet 4 of 25 shows what we are proposing. The density calcs allow us just over 26 units. We have proposed 26 units on site. We have put them in different types of building pods. So we have 3-plexes, duplexes, and 4-plexes. On the site plan, and there's one thing me and Joanne had to go through for about a month or so at the beginning of this, you have setbacks based on the most parallel side those buildings are to the boundary. So there are 3 setbacks on this here, one for a 2-unit building, one for a 3-unit building, and one for the 4-unit building. Those are all labeled clearly on the plan that's here. They are 23.5 feet for the 2-unit. They are 35.25 for the 3, and 47 for the 4-unit buildings. Again, we have shown those on the site plan and outlined that all there. The location, the driveway coming in on the site plan here, we talked about the last one here. It's at the 60-degree angle. It meets it. It's the same as the previous one in 2007 location. It seemed to make the most amount of sense back then. It makes the most amount of sense now across from Terrence Lane. Coming into the site and the way it's laid out, it seemed to all work, so we went forward with that on the same knowledge. We also on this development here, I know you've just had a few extra multifamilies in town. One of the things that we really try to harp upon is extra parking for tenants and stuff like that. We have 4, 8, 12 off-street parking spaces that we have shown. I have also made sure that all the driveways are at least 21.5 feet deep. I actually have an exhibit here that I can hand out later to the board members. But there's only 2 units that are 21.5, and then everything else is 22 to 23 and over. So again, tried to understand that people want to park in their driveways these days, and some people might have a little bit bigger vehicles than some others, so we wanted to make sure that they could all be within the roadway, within the driveways that are proposed on site. One of the things on the change from the last application, from the last meeting that we were here on sheet 4, we met with the, well, I didn't, but the owners met with the abutters. They finalized the agreement with the easement. That easement plan is in the back of the package. The easement documentation is in the back of the package. They agreed to a 6-foot vinyl fence along the whole property line, and that is shown on sheet 4 of 25 as well. It is actually 60 feet back from Mast Road. He didn't want to start right at Mast Road from site distance and stuff like that, but it goes all the way to the back property line for them. And that is up on their side. It's on our property there, but as Barbara pointed out the last one, this jumps up quite a bit to his property. He kind of overlooks on this. It's a little fishbowl down into our site here. I was asked to cut a profile through the site last month. I have that as well. I will submit that in a few minutes for you guys to take a look at, just to show what it's going to look like from his site, the fence, the two buildings as they come down into the property. We did propose a playground area behind units 14, 15, and 16. There was some discussion last month on what was going to go in there. Bob came to me and said, you know, once this homeowners association gets set up, it seems to be a little, we're throwing this out to you guys, but it seems to be that we wanted to allow some flexibility with what ends up there. High-end professionals, maybe 1 or 2 kids, like we said, that's kind of low. So he's offering to throw $5,000 into a fund for the homeowners association. We would level the area, fence the area, but it would give them money to put in if they want to do a playground, or do they want to do a barbecue pit, do they want to, you know, things like that. We thought that that might make more sense, but it's really up to you guys in that there. But it was kind of asked us last time what was there. That's something Bob came to me with and said, how about this? And we put that on the table, and we'll go from there. The next sheet, which is 5, it's basically 5, 6, and 7. Those are kind of the meats of the project here. That's all the grading. As you'll see from the cross section, I'll hand out in a few minutes, this site had some challenges from one side to the next with the grade change, obviously with the abutter, and I really tried hard to make sure it fits. And when you see the cross section, you'll see that we cut down the road a little bit so we could do drive unders on one side and walkouts on the other to balance the grades as we come into the back. I think it makes a lot of sense the way we laid it out. One of the reasons we asked for the bioretention waiver, you guys require bioretention waiver. Scott, I believe it's projects that don't necessarily always have an AOT, you just want to make sure there's treatment on sites. Obviously, this one has AOT and is up at the state right now for the review, so we felt that this design, if it meets the AOT, would be good with the town. I believe Scott last hearing said he was good with our waiver request, so that is why we're requesting the waiver. Again, we're going with standards of the AOT and the DES at this point moving forward. We have, as I said, as you come in on the right side last time, the first 3 buildings on the right side are going to be garage unders, and then walkouts on their first floor to the back to our abutter to the east. And then on the left side, we have some units that are going to be walkouts in the basement, and they'll have decks on theirs there. And then some of the units are just basements in the ground, and you'll just walk directly out to the backyards. Next couple sheets outline the drainage and utilities. We've been working with Scott on the piping. We've increased the size of the piping for some of the backflow of the system to make sure that that meets his requirements for the 50 and the 100-year storms. Apparently, I need to get in front of the sewer commission for one of my other utilities, the sewer, which I will do that for next month. As soon as I get out of here, I'll do that tomorrow. We've been working with Manchester Waterworks on the water system. The plan that you saw last month had individual service to every unit. Manchester, which is what these guys just did in Grassmere, so that's what they figured they would do in Pinardville, but Manchester wants one connection to each building, so they revised it to show the gas and the water on one side, the electric on the other, and they'll have to run them through each unit that they do, but that's a request of Manchester Waterworks, and we're working through with them on that. Sheet 11 of 25 is one of the most important in any plan set. That's our landscaping. Again, as I always say, she was here last time, actually, last hearing, the train design. Romy gave you guys a presentation after I left, but she used to work for us. She's a wonderful landscape architect, and we laid this out to meet your requirements. We did the typical planting around the units. We did some trees throughout the development, not just in front, but also side of the buildings, behind the buildings. Kind of really add some character to the development in general. The lighting is low key. I've been doing this for 29 years now. I believe in trying to keep the dark skies. I think it's changed dramatically, I would say, over the last 20 years. We're going to continue that. We don't light up the world anymore. It's more of a direction, you know, how do I get to my place kind of stuff. So we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights on the development. Again, all downcast, all meeting the dark sky requirements, basically to direct you in and through around the site. We have erosion control plans. Again, this is going to AOT, so we have full erosion control plans in our package. We have site distance, and then we have our details. What I'd like to do is kind of hand out, this was asked by Barbara at the last hearing, with just a little bit of what's it going to look like if you were standing at the abutter's property. This is an exaggerated scale at 40 and 4. The dotted lines that go through that is the existing contours.
Thank you, Mike.
So off to the right side, you'll see the first sheet gives you the cross section. The second sheet shows you where that cross section ran through the site. So I tried to pick the best one I could run through there. It comes off of the house, goes through the fence, goes through a couple buildings. Seemed to be the best location to put it through. So the first on the right is the existing house up at the top of the hill. Where we're proposing the 6-foot fence is shown there. Unit number 4 is the first building that you will see, and that is a garage under. And then you walk out on the first floor, and then your second floor. The black lines are the beach floor. They're about 8.67, right around 8.5 feet for each floor. And then the roof was about 7 feet, 6.67 feet on the pitch that went up there. And as you can see, the dotted line kind of cuts through it. It's a pretty steep cut through it, so by cutting the road in, I was able to drop both sides, and the grades, I mean, I almost walked out on the downside of Unit 22 at the existing grade. And the upside, we've got the swale in the back on the grading plan and stuff like that that you'll see. So the end result is that you're not going to be looking into the courtyard of this development from the abutter. And I think that was one of the questions. You'll be looking at the second floor of the houses. That would be units 4, 5, 6, and 7 in front of them, and the roof line that's there. So again, yep.
I don't believe that's the house.
I have it, it's not.
Oh, you mean the house they're living in? Well, the house in back, because it's a workshop or something like that? Okay, I don't know what's in there. I figured that was the house you wanted it from. If you want it from the other one, I can do that as well. It's not a big deal.
It's even better from that.
Right, yeah, it's a little different from there, so I didn't know what was going on. It's at the shop, I guess, or something, but they can speak to that. So that at least showed roughly what we're doing. Again, not a fishbowl, kind of creates a barrier for them on that side there, a noise barrier, as well as a visual barrier from there. We did submit architectural and stuff like that. I think Bob has done a very nice job with the architecturals on this one here. And that kind of takes a look at the cross-section through the site. I know that one of the other concerns people had was related to the parking. So I just want to give you, I actually dimensioned out every single driveway, which is very different than the one you just approved for the elderly one that Bob ended up building.
Thank you.
Understanding that even though we thought vehicles were downsizing about 5 or 6 years ago, they seem to have kind of grown again. We took a look at what the average car is throughout the state. I think you guys are in the same process with changing your parking calculations, so you probably looked at that yourselves. Your typical large pickup truck is up to 18.4. I did find some that were like 19.66. I'm doing the Auto Fair dealership in Manchester right now for their heavy F750s, but those aren't.
750?
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah, there's a
750?
But those are commercial vehicles, so they're much bigger.
Oh, okay,
So
sorry.
yeah. So everything seems to be under the 20-foot, I guess, and that's probably why you're looking at 20-foot spaces. Again, I've got all my space at least 21.5 feet. I can make those 2 units there 22 to 23 feet if you would prefer. I don't know if you've thought enough about this on where you're going with it, but again, I took a look at the plans for that Angel, whatever that's called over there. What's the name of it?
One
Angel
place,
Point.
One place.
take a look at the plans and see what the dimensions of those driveways are. I'd recommend there. There's a little caveat that says they're supposed to be 20 feet. There's at least 5 on each sheet, and I have copies of them here that are, So there's nothing they can do. It's what the plan showed, and it's how they built it, and but where they put the 20 and where it actually is, and there's no off-site parking there. There's not one off-site, not one. They have 3 driveways that go, that's a grass drive, but that's just to access the detention ponds. So again, as you know, I've been here many, many times. I try to put the best foot forward. I believe with the size of the driveways, with the layout, what we've done here, we've created something that fits in the area. It makes sense. One of the other things that was brought up at that hearing was just to get a rough idea on what the density was around this. So I looked at the parcels just behind us because that was requested. There are some garden style across the street from us. I didn't really look to see what those units were. But the Morgan Estates just behind us, if you go on the town GIS and click on that, that's its own, that first unit's its own entity there, just picks it up. That's 3.82 acres, and that's got 26 units on it. We're 3.65 with the 26 acres. They had wetlands, we don't have any wetlands, so I think it's pretty similar to what is in the area. It was kind of the question that was asked last time.
Matt, what are the lengths of the guest parking spaces? You didn't identify.
Those are 18, those are on the plan at 18 and a half.
That's our current ordinance says.
Are those the ones that are, the 2 groups of 4 that are in that center area?
There's a 2, well,
Yep.
there's, I think, a total of 14 I counted.
That's what I got.
Oh, I forgot the 2 there. Yep. Yeah, they're 18 and a half by 9. All of those that are there.
Okay.
And again, that was your current standard as there.
So Matt, are you anticipating that your parking is going to be adequate so that people won't be parking in the street there?
That's what.
Based on the size unit you want to build? Because they're not all going to have 2 cars, right? A 3-bedroom unit might have more than 2 cars?
2 bedrooms.
I
Well,
don't know how people are driving. I don't know.
they're going to have children there, and adult children drive, they don't walk.
It depends on what you're seeing. A lot of stuff out there. I'm working with a bike group in Manchester right now because a lot of people don't have cars, and I'm doing a multifamily next Thursday in Manchester that has 9 parking spaces for 14 units. So it all depends on what you get. No, I understand, and this is Bernardville too, so people can walk.
I'm just,
But
I'm
I
trying-
believe we've laid out parking.
I'm trying to affirm that the no parking requirement is going to be able to be adhered to based on your parking providing, what parking you're providing.
Yeah, and I'm not
And I
sure.
know it's a private development, we can't
No, I understand.
go in and regulate what people are doing.
Well, you're
but
gonna have
Well-
68 spaces.
Well, you can regulate because you required me to do no parking signs for the fire department. So there's no parking signs through it, plus there's curbing. Did the other one have curbing on it as well, or are they parking in the grass?
They're parking off on people's lawns.
Right, so we've got curbing, plus no parking signs, plus what you just said, 14 off parking spaces.
Because it's more about the fire engine than anything else.
Yes, safety, ambulance getting through.
So I just had a question. If you're doing the 18 and a half for the parking spaces right at the entrance,
Mhm.
and someone decides to park there with a longer vehicle,
Just make them deeper.
Sure. We go
We
with
got the space to do it.
yeah, you do have.
Just those first 4 you're talking about, Joanne?
Well, I mean, the others too, but I don't know if there's space enough to
Yeah,
adjust
that might
those.
connect if you,
Usually people pull over, the car goes over the,
Thank you, Rick.
yeah, the nose of the
the
vehicle can go
usually the
over.
tires go up to the curb, so you got,
I would be willing to work a half and half. I could do the 4 at the front and the 2 on the right, but the 4 and 4 around the cul-de-sac,
Understand.
I'm gonna lose 2 spaces. I could do it. I'd lose 2 spaces. I'd rather have the 2 spaces over that.
That's fine.
It just gets tight.
shift it down a little bit.
I think you get to the radius here,
Yeah.
so.
I
But
think
yes,
it's
we,
a good compromise, Matt, if you want
make some
to
extra
increase the length on the 2 that are standalones and the 4 that are just
Yep.
before the stop bar. That's a good compromise, and it makes it safer.
Well, most people's cars are only 16, 15, 16 feet long.
So that's that. Oh, you guys asked about the bus stop. We got an email we put in your file there that this is our 443 is already a bus stop location. They envision it being the same thing as that. Architect, garages, density. So those were kind of the questions I had at the last hearing. Kind of gives you a quick overview of the project. And I'll stop talking and take any questions or comments. Oh. Would you like me to go through Joanne's letter here? Is that easy for you guys, if you want a copy of it?
What is the letter we're talking about?
The one from Keach Nordstrom that I dated January 2nd.
Starts off one boundary dispute.
Boundary dispute, yep.
If you'd like to be brief, we'd love to hear about it.
Okay. So obviously the boundary dispute, that was one of the things that came up at the very beginning with Joanne, the abutter, my client. At this point now, the easement's been agreed upon. There will be we can't put a final bound at that corner because it's in the driveway. As I talked to my surveyor, that's why it's not there. So there would be something that they can do at the end of the day, but everybody's good with where that is and stuff like that. And as far as I know, I'll let them speak afterwards, but they've worked through that. That was really the first, she's got the condo site plan up to E, F, encroachment. All the first section is kind of all about that. The second one was related to the acceptance and the waivers that we went through at the beginning of the meeting. I think the planning board stuff, we submitted condo docs.
They've been reviewed.
They have been reviewed, yep, that's what I heard, yep, you guys are good with them, okay. We talked about the playground area a little bit, I threw that out to you guys earlier, but that was brought up. She talks about C, the bus pickup. Clearing the site, note was added on that. We've added the no parking signs I talked about. The F was an interesting one, I was surprised, it was a good catch there, Joanne, but there's, on sheet 2 of 25, there's this little dot of ledge in the, I was like, where is there ledge on the property? It's a little dot just behind the house by 40B.
Could be
So,
a little piece
it could
sticking
be
out of the
rockers.
ground, but it's big below.
So anyway, we will take care of that. We had submitted architecturals, substantial and completion note we've added, no comments from the school district. The mailboxes, I talked about moving to the center island instead of at the first 4 spaces of the last hearing because we were worried about backing up. We've got the fire department with the name change, or the road name. The mature tree heights noted, no off-street parking, again, that was kind of a double up. Individuals should be, this was kind of D, was talked about the driveway size. The driveway shown at 20 feet long, so apparently he was good there. Again, my shortest one is 21 and a half. I got no issue making that 22 if everybody wants the minimum to be 22 on this, which would give 2 feet from the building, plus a 20-foot parking space where most cars are 16 and a half. I think we would really be kind of looking at the right things we're supposed to be looking at. I mean, unless you guys are thinking it's 30, but I mean, I haven't heard that yet. Again, the fire hydrant, we're working with the Manchester Water Works on the hydrants and stuff like that, but we've revised it. They'll get a copy here to kind of sign off now on that, yay or nay. Water main sized properly. We went with the 8-inch to the first hydrant, 6 after that is what they allowed. No dumpsters, we were going to do private pickup. Snow storage we talked about last time, we had shown in designated areas on sheet 4. And anything that's not has to be removed. I mean, this year is a great year, we wouldn't have to remove anything so far, but in other years we may have to, so they would have to do that. And then we have natural gas, no propane tanks
You got
from
the
there.
green pro on the snow.
Yep, and we did the Green Pro cleaning in the condo docks that Scott asked us for on that, so that was all in there as well. Traffic study, we had originally submitted one. We had GPI take care of that. They've been working, I believe, with Scott and the DOT. I saw a letter that they were all set there. I think Scott might have a few comments later, but we had worked through that with them. DPW comments, we've worked through Scott's. I know he probably has a few left on his there, but these are all kind of redundant from what he had done. But the snow removal, the Snow Pro we talked about, labeling the road, label it as a private road so that nobody comes back and tries to get it to be a town road.
No, they've done that before, though. That's
Nice,
that work don't really
nice
work.
try, Matt.
All you gotta do is say no.
Not us, it's the board, not us.
Select board, right, yeah. Sidewalk detours during construction, that was a good pickup. We have to open up the entrance a little bit there and stuff like that, make sure that that's good. The detectable warnings panels, we did
Matt,
that.
I'm gonna hold you up for a second. Do we need to go over these, Scott, or are you all set with him on these?
No,
They're not really discussion items,
no,
they're
they're
more
not.
plan edits with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
The drainage, the comment wasn't addressed to, the one on the drainage report, that one still needs to be addressed
The
with the
50-year
surcharge.
storm?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
So,
The
that
catch
was,
basin.
that was the big one. The reason, I think this actually requests a waiver based off that. Yeah, so it says waiver needed on the response document, and I'll just tell you now why I wouldn't suggest the board approve a waiver. There's just so much elevation change
Yeah.
between the system and where the drainage is that there's no call for it to,
The waiver request was a typo from Mike Tech there. We will make
Okay.
that work with Scott.
okay.
Yep.
So, Matt, where the Cultec system is gonna be located, is that located behind down in the back corner of the building that has the access road to it? Is
Yes.
that where the Cultec system is
Yes,
located?
behind 14, 15, and 16.
Right. So, is that the area you're proposing for a playground or something?
Yes.
Is that what you were talking
Yes.
about?
Yep.
Now, don't Cultec systems generally have vent caps for accessibility and cleaning and such?
Yes, we have,
In the isolator row.
yeah, we have those outside the fence area. That'd be the overflow. If you take a sheet,
I can just go along with you by,
Yeah.
you describing it.
yep.
So,
We reached out to make sure that we could do it on top and stuff like that.
and the vent caps, though, the cleaning caps are gonna be located outside the fence?
Correct. Yep.
Because I wouldn't, and if that's gonna be a play area, are they any concern for children? Do we have to lock them or do anything, Matt?
So the biggest, and this is why he brought it up, we've been seeing numbers that, believe it or not, the people are not living, kids are not living in these developments, more so they're in single family, the numbers go down. So if it ends up that there's 5 kids in there, then they can put in a playground, we put the money. If it descends and it's different, we went that direction, so.
No, I'm good with that part of it. I'm asking you about the access panel, the access to the, what, is it 6-inch pipe or what is it, Bob? Do you know off the top of your head?
No, I don't.
I know they have to be accessed for because I know one chamber in these systems has to have a fiber mat under it
So-
for cleaning.
I can explain what it is. So there is, fortunately on this design, the isolator row, which is the one that requires cleaning, has a manhole on one end and a catch basin grate on the other. So they can jet from both directions, and then there's a 6-inch inspection port in the middle, I think.
Right.
If you took a look to.
So I don't think the kids are gonna be lifting
I'm
manhole
just
covers.
asking about what they're doing to protect it from kids down in there.
They could possibly pop the 6-inch one off.
But
I
they
don't know
can't
if
fit down in the 6-inch
No,
pipe.
yeah, and I don't recall if it was like
But it's,
a
they're gonna be
lock-in
cast
cap.
iron covers for the manholes for the?
Yep.
for the- Okay, so
Yep,
they
that's
ain't
what they
gonna-
have on their details.
All right, I'm good with that. Anything else from board members, or do we have more to go, Matt, on this sheet? We did
I'll
DPW, you
get
did your
quiet.
traffic analysis.
Gotta do the drain.
Actually, the catch basin on one end has a Nioplast cover, because it's one of those plastic Nioplast catch basins. So it's like a composite material.
Well, then,
Drains it.
So, that one, I don't know how light those are, but.
Mike, Matt, what's the soil down there under this Cultec system? What's the soil type?
Sand?
Sand? So we're not gonna have to worry about it filling up with water?
I don't think so, no. It's all sand.
We did test pits, I just gotta get to them.
I got my answer from Bob, I'm okay, Bob, you don't have to keep looking.
Okay. He was on site when they dug them.
Scott, I stopped him on the individual details on your DPW section. It moves on to drainage report comments. Anything on that, Scott?
Well, that's the issue.
The drainage report, that's there's some pipes that are completely underwater that just need to
You
be.
talked about the surcharging?
Yeah, that's what I had just mentioned, they
And you
still need
upgraded
to.
them?
No, they
No, they still need to
this
do
one,
We did, and it didn't finalize, so we need to do a little more.
yeah.
So we'll see some plan edits based on
That's
your
my plan,
comments?
yes, yes.
Either larger pipe, steeper slope,
Yeah.
deeper structures, something,
Yep.
Okay.
probably a
The,
combination of
the
all
test
of those
bits are on
things.
sheet 25 at 25, just to verify, 28 inches to sand and down the bottom at 96 6 inches, no ledge, granule, all good stuff, so.
And you're working through the traffic analysis comments with things, Scott?
So we had VHB review, VHB is a third-party consultant that we hired to review their report, and they didn't have any major concerns. They recommended that DOT review the traffic study. DOT had no comments, and then they also recommended that some type of mitigation at the entrance to the new condo facility be done, which they recommended a do not block intersection, or they kind of alluded to including one at the intersection so that the queued up vehicles headed westbound toward the village at the intersection with 114 wouldn't block it, stopping vehicles turning left into the new development. I spoke with Director Jacobs, and he's kind of opposed to using that type of striping, so we aren't recommending they add it. But I think we would like to see what was originally proposed with the 2008 design, which is losing the taper for the westbound lane to get into the left turn lane and extending the two-way left turn lane to give a little more visual storage for the cars turning left into the new development, since there's a likelihood that the intersection could be blocked. The through traffic does back up quite a bit there. It extends beyond this intersection, so there could be times where there'd be 2-3 cars queued up to turn left into the neighborhood. So providing that visual storage, I think would be helpful here.
Does that area fall under the DOT or the Department of Public Works?
That does not fall under DOT. So the DOT maintenance ends, I think it's about 100 feet from the intersection itself.
So are the decisions regarding striking from the Department of Public Works?
They are town maintained,
So
so
you
yes,
can
it's
work with DPW on
yeah.
striking adjustments?
yeah. So it should be pretty straightforward, and
Okay.
I think it would help a little.
So what was that sheet I was looking at? Was there, so, I don't know the rest of them. There was traffic analysis comments, which we just talked about, and then the rest of them were just noted because they're items they have to complete before they can get approval in the long run. Pages,
Yeah, those are,
well, from number 10, 11, actually number 11, general comments and conditions.
yeah, those are, having to do with what permits they'll need, accessibility fees, all those type of things, that inspection by third-party consultant, needing an escrow.
So on-site inspections are going to be by third-party consultants, correct?
Correct.
You're not going to have DPW staff doing
We
this?
are not.
I have a couple things.
Please, Joanne.
And I want them to address the CUP. There's a conditional use permit.
Yeah, we talked
haven't heard
about that before.
That could be nice.
Okay, so in my comments on number 8, it says the applicant has agreed to install a 6-foot vinyl fence along the easterly portion of the property. See note 21. So I'm
This is it.
asking that
Oh, this is,
Page
that
five.
note 21 be
Our
reworded,
packet, page
because
five.
to me, the note's not clear that the owner will be installing the fence, because note 21 states, area to be regraded as a level platform to accommodate a 6-foot vinyl fence along the easterly property line. But it doesn't say
Who's going to put the
who's
fence in?
installing the
That's
fence.
fine.
So I also would like to see something on one of the back pages with the fence details. There, we don't have anything on that.
Okay.
Okay, the next one is, we need the large floor plans to be recorded, so right now, we only have the smaller, like.
No, the original submittal had the full.
They do, oh, so
But I
Patty-
can get you new, I
Patty
can
must
get you
have them,
revised on
okay.
that, but that's okay.
I was wondering if there'll be any additional lighting at the entranceway. I know somebody was complaining in the other, in Angel Point area, the Angel Point condo, that they were having trouble seeing pulling in, and I didn't know if it was dark over at this new place, or whether there needs to be some
the
additional
street lights
lighting.
out.
I'll
right
take a
at
look,
the
I don't
entrance.
know the answer to that, but I'll take a
Okay.
look what's out there.
I will tell you, Joanne, that streetlights that are in the right-of-way of the Department of Public Works,
Yeah, I didn't
decisions, and they're made by our
necessarily,
Traffic Safety Committee, right, Scott? Recommendations for streetlight installation
So in
in the
in
right-of-way.
town right of way, yes. The one that she's talking about is actually DOT maintenance, so
Well, that's-
they're the ones working with Angel Point, but this
I'm not
this would be.
necessarily looking for a street light, I'm just looking for something maybe on the
Well, we
property
did put one at the
itself.
end, I mean, if you look at sheet 12 of 25, we do have one at the entrance.
I saw that, I'm not sure exactly.
I'm not sure, I'll
Where
take, I have
it
the other
was
plans
showing.
from the other
We switched
angels,
to
see
all
where they're
LED a
supposed
few
to.
years ago.
I'll coordinate.
Theirs was further down.
One of them,
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
we're
we're
probably-
probably last
Okay.
three times.
I'll confirm it.
That's on High Street.
Yeah,
The
I'll send
storm,
you the number.
you want it gone.
Sorry, Joanne, go ahead.
the stormwater operation and maintenance plan, which we have now a copy, it says that certain things have to be maintained by the condo association. I was going to recommend that that document be recorded with the condominium plan, so that in the future, people can actually find it in case, for whatever reason, that it's not here.
There's a note, right?
And, let's see, I got the fence. I'm confused about the number of bedrooms. I've heard that there's going to be 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms, but I don't know,
For all three.
they're all 3. Okay, that makes it easier, thank you. And the other thing is the snow storage. I've heard from various departments about how the snow storage is not sufficient. And I have an issue with that because I feel that our regulations require snow storage. And we can't just say, well, we're not going to supply enough snow storage because we don't have the room on site, therefore we will have them haul it away. Well, the we in this case is not the owner, it's eventually it's going to be the condominium owners who will be future Goffstown residents. And I don't think we should put the burden on the homeowners association when it's required in the first place.
Scott, do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, it's pretty logical that, you know, we're kind of putting the burden on them to hauling snow away is something that nobody likes doing.
Because it's expensive.
It's expensive. You gotta
No, that
find a
doesn't
place
get
to-
done, it's a private road, it'll never get done. Scott,
Wait a minute, can we hang on,
Yeah.
Barbara, please? Joanne, did you have anything else to add on the snow storage business?
Not on snow, but if I could just say one more thing and then I'll be done. I'm wondering where the location of the sign will be. I didn't notice it on the plan.
I didn't put a sign on it. You do put signs on all your developments, don't you?
Thank you.
Right by the entrance.
That's all I had.
Okay, Barbara, you're next.
in regards to the snow storage, I know it's on, I forget what sheet number, and
Four.
no, I don't know that it was.
Yep.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I've circled it on the other one. So to me, maybe I'm missing some. There's an area to the right as you come in,
Yep.
and then there's an area up to the back left, not using,
So when you come in on the right side, the first one on the right before Unit 1.
Right.
Then we showed space between Units 3 and 4. Then we showed space between 10 and 11.
so that's snow, so that dotted
That line
line
is,
is
yep,
snow
typical, yep.
storage
You didn't
there.
identify it, that's why we didn't see it as
Yeah.
such.
Well, because it says, so the first one says typical, and then you come to 16 and 17, and I labeled it again there, and said typical again. So it's tough to put labels on every single one, but, so then between 17 and 16 and 17, and then one more spot between 24 and 25.
So you show one between 10 and 11, did you mention that? Is that a snow storage area?
Yep, where it says common area.
It's
But
not-
I can label
Realistically, you
them.
could snow store between any of the units.
Yeah.
So,
I guess I don't, what is the access to the snow storage
Yeah.
between 17 and 18? Or any of them?
17. 16 and 17 has the 10-foot gravel road that has to be maintained down to the drainage system there, so that snow is going to be plowed right there. That was a very easy spot to put it. So the riprap, that's our gravel road down to the drainage system.
They don't plow.
So is there a
Is it loaded?
requirement for them to plow it? It's not in the document.
They'll probably just plow the little bit they need to plow to push the snow
Right,
there.
to
if
get
that's
down
what
to
Matt
that
is
area,
stating.
right.
They'll just get that first
And then
20
what
feet.
kind of curbing is where your other snow storage areas allegedly are?
Bit curve.
Yeah, we have bit curb proposed through it.
Which is mountable.
You have what, bituminous, Cape, what do you, Cape Cod berm, what do you?
Yes. Yep.
So people, so between, so I don't think you can count the snow storage behind parking spaces, even though those are overflow. I mean, I guess, I just envision most of these spaces being taken by cars, and I understand it's all right, so that's your answer to that.
Matt, why aren't you
Thank you.
showing, excuse me, Barb, why aren't you showing snow storage in your island area for that reason, Scott? You have common area and you have a proposed hydrant, those areas are wide open
Well-
and accessible for snow plowing.
Because if you go to my landscape plan, I tried to beautify the site. I mean, I can take all the landscape out and put snow storage there, but I don't,
Well, there's two different regulations and you have to meet both
I know.
if you want to do.
no, I get that you got snow storage. I've written it down 4 times here, so.
But they're not accessible areas,
But you have to
Matt.
keep that hydrant
That's a fair
open
amount.
too.
Yeah.
Matt, honestly, those are really not accessible areas. They'd have to drive across people's lawns and sidewalks to go over there and store snow in between the buildings. Because I assume that's a green space, let's use 10 and 11 for instance. There's a huge green area there, right by the 4+00 mark for your station. That's all lawn, you're gonna drive across the lawns with pickup trucks?
There's also a
push snow?
tree, if you look at the,
Yeah, there's trees there.
there's a tree right there too that actually doesn't work with the,
Front end loader.
I hear your concerns. I will speak with my client and we'll
Front end
I think a
loader
little-
drives 4 times.
we'll
without
see what we
ruts.
can come up with.
See if you can work out something.
How about if we talk to
there's
the
trees
snow
and
plow
signs in
guy?
the way of
Yeah,
Let's find
a
out.
few of these.
everybody's an expert on snow
So-
plow.
Let's figure that
They're
out.
not quite realistic, which I didn't compare the two previously, so.
Like I said, I understand.
It's a discussion item
It's
at
an
this point.
issue you guys got, and I will.
And I think you'll
Are we in
talk.
general discussion or trying to control the subject?
No, we're in general discussion, this is open discussion tonight.
Okay.
So we, if you want to stay on snow storage, let's stay on it. If you want to move on, we'll move on.
I don't have any.
Okay, at this time. Any other board members have questions or comments at this time?
I would like to hear the conditional use criteria
Yeah, let's go to
addressed,
that.
because
I saw that in my
I mean, the first rule here.
Let us get our paperwork together before we go through it, please. Lord, I gotta find it. I know it's here somewhere. There it is. I got it.
Too much paper in front of us.
The one that's just-
Joanne, explain to everyone, including the
Big
public,
letters.
Joan, could you please explain to everyone, including the public, why they need a conditional use permit?
Because in order to do multifamily in the RSBOD zone, it requires a conditional use permit, just to make sure that it fits in and the architect fits in with the neighborhood and there's not an impact on the neighbors or traffic or things like that.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure everyone understood what the conditional use permit was for, who was listening at home, for 7 or 8 of you. So what we'll do, Matt, is we'll have you, do we want to discuss this as a board, or do we want to have Matt review the criteria? Let's review the criteria then, one at a time. And Joanne, I'm going to let you lead the conversation. Do you have your papers worked in front of you?
I'm looking.
Okay, I can jump in and help if you want me to.
No, I don't.
All right. I'm going to have you respond. You have your responses ready, Matt? Whatever. And we're going to do these one at a time, so if there's questions or anything from the board members, we can discuss it. 1, the use is specifically authorized in the ordinance as a conditional use.
The table of permitted uses in section 3.11 of the Goffstown zoning ordinance allows multifamily developments within the residential small business office 2, RSBO 2 zoning district to be permitted by conditional use permit.
Okay, the next one is, if completed as proposed by the applicant, the development in its proposed location will comply with all requirements of this section and with the specific conditions or standards established in the ordinance for this particular use.
As outlined in our narrative and as presented earlier here, the development meets the 6 criteria required granting a conditional use permit by the planning board. The development meets the 6 criteria for the requirement. The development is also required to receive site plan approval and undergo a comprehensive review to determine that the project meets all regulatory requirements with the exception of the waived items. Obviously, having review by DPW, planning department, zoning, making sure we meet all the requirements.
Excuse me for writing something down. Okay, Matt, number 3, this use will be compatible with the neighborhood and with adjoining or abutting uses in the area in which it is to be located.
The proposed use is compatible with the use of the surrounding properties. The parcel is surrounded mainly by residential, single-family, and multifamily projects. The abutting parcel to the north, map 6, lot 37, is developed with approximately 96 condominium units. To the south, at the intersection of Mass Road and Terrence Lane, the abutting parcel is developed with single-family residential homes. The easterly abutter 2017 is developed with the Jones and Horological Auction House. I'm sorry, I butchered that, but I'm an engineer. To the west beyond Route 14 and the Route 140 section are the additional single-family residents, and then the proposed multi-use is consistent with the above. I think I also submitted to you guys the GIS plan that kind of shows it fits right into what is around us, that it's there.
Number 4, the use will not have a substantial adverse impact on vehicular or pedestrian safety.
A traffic report was provided to discuss impacts of traffic to the proposed development. Those have been reviewed by DOT, DPW to make sure that we meet the requirements for this development. I think as well as the recommendation earlier about the restriping of Mass Road makes it safe for vehicles. As determined within that document, the traffic impact is expected to be negligible for the area. There are existing sidewalks along Mass Road for pedestrian safety. We're also proposing to, reconstruct those and make sure they're done with the handicap ramps and stuff like that installed with this development. And the proposed project will maintain the existing sidewalks where possible and improve or reconstruct additional sections as necessary.
Number 5, the use will not have a substantial adverse impact on the appearance and visual quality of the surrounding neighborhood. In evaluating visual impact, the planning board may consider architectural and design elements.
Again, the architectural drawings have been provided with this application for reference to aid in determining visual quality. We believe that the materials, colors, and the aesthetic design elements were chosen to appeal to the modern buyer and fits into the area that's here and is very aesthetically pleasing. The appearance of the structure is not expected to adversely impact the neighborhood. I believe that the cross-section of the property that we submitted shows that to the board.
It's better than what's there.
Sorry?
It's better than what's there.
Yeah. Number 6, the use will be adequately serviced by necessary public utilities and community facilities and services of a sufficient capacity to ensure the proper operation of the proposed use.
The appropriate utilities required for proper operation of multifamily use are provided in this area. The proposed development will be serviced by municipal water and sewer by connecting an existing mains located along Mass Road. The development will also connect to a 6-inch gas main located along Mass Road. Underground electric, telephone cable, etc. is proposed to connect to the existing power pole NETT 154101S at the southerly corner of the property. And the applicant will pay its required impact fees to the town as part of this development.
Board members, does anybody have any questions regarding the answers that were given for the conditional use permit? Barbara?
I want to thank Matt for bringing answering my relative neighborhood density question by figuring out how many units there were on the other developments that were close by, notwithstanding Timberwood down the street a little bit. Because I have concerns about the density of this as proposed, especially in light of the fact I'm hearing they're all 3 bedrooms. Morgan Estates, which is the abutting development that went in phases, which I think are those 2 other ones that you're referring to. There's part of it is 26, and then you go back to the 70 units. Those are all 2-bedroom units. So this is, so I'm just going, I'm discussing this not from a regulation standpoint, but from a density standpoint. This is actually, from a bedroom standpoint, much more dense than anything else in the neighborhood. And I have some concerns about that. So I'm just putting that out there. It's 192 units and bedrooms essentially in Morgan Estates on 33 acres. And we're talking about, plus some other off-land. It's just pretty dense. I'm very concerned about the site and the density. And that sort of goes to another question I have later. But as to the CUP, that would be my comment. I am concerned about the density.
I'll echo Barbara in that I'm concerned about the density and the compatibility with the surrounding properties. So again, it's and maybe for me, it's not so much the density, but the density tied with the visibility, the proximity to Mass Road. I feel like the other denser developments are set back a little bit further, whereas we've got, our minimum building setback here. I know there have been some attempts with fencing and some landscaping to do some screening, but I've got some concerns about the compatibility. I guess maybe I'd be interested to know the impervious coverage, how that compares, so not necessarily just the unit density, but are we, have more impervious coverage here on this lot versus, and I know that they meet the regulation and the standard, but if we're looking for conditional use permit criteria, how it fits with the surrounding area, I'd, like to have some more information on how this overall lot coverage compares to coverage in the area in general.
So Matt, to go to Colleen's statement about the impervious surfaces, does this meet the density requirements for the lot size or the impervious surface calculations as stated in our regulations?
Yeah, so the maximum building coverage permitted by your regulations is 25%. Is that correct? That's what my note says. And the percentage of gross area building coverage for us is 16%.
But don't we have impervious surfaces as well that includes asphalt and such? Does that lay in?
We don't
We
include
do not. Okay, then I'm-
It's not a regulation, but it's, to me, part of the character of how it fits in and is compatible with surrounding properties would be, if we don't have a regulation to say what that percentage should be, but can we get an idea on how this compares to those abutting properties?
Doubt you can do it right off the top of the head.
Yeah, no, it's, come on, engineer. Yeah.
I've heard it stated at least twice that the expectation is there's not going to be a lot of children in this neighborhood. Is that because these are going to be market rate condominiums?
It's so, I just finished 216 units in Milford, and we had to do a study. And the studies are showing that the kids are not living in these developments, they're living in single families. It was done by Mark Fouchier, who's done a lot of stuff in the state. So I can give a copy of that report to you guys. I have no idea. I mean, one of the biggest
Well, you're
things
the one who
why...
made the statement,
No,
not
he
me.
relied on somebody else.
That's fine. But I'm
Right.
saying, I'm asking you.
Yeah,
are
no,
these
I'm saying I'm
market-
not the expertise, I'm basing it on the information I got from them, is that's what they're saying. So, just like,
My question is, are these going to be market rate units? That's what my question is.
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
And one of the things to bring to the board's attention here that I think is critical today is that a lot of people are working from home. So when you say 3 bedrooms, a lot of that is to allow an office. I mean, my wife does that. She has, her whole office is one of our bedrooms upstairs. So that's what it is. So that's where he's kind of looking to.
Yeah, and if you have 2 kids, one's a boy and a girl, you got 2 rooms. You don't necessarily get more people because you have an extra bedroom.
And your units are accounting for one parking space being a garage and the second parking space being the pavement outside the garage. Is that correct, Matt?
Yes. Can I just go back to the green space a little, because you asked for,
Yeah.
and I don't like to come back with not the information.
I mean,
but-
are we done with CUP? That was
Oh.
all I have.
Well, no, this is still CUP, because she
Okay.
asked about the density based on that, that's what I was saying.
Oh, okay.
You asked, so the building, you guys have building cover of 25%, I'm at 16. So, I mean, I'm not even at 20%, so I'm kind of low there. So, I don't know how I'm gonna be able to open space if somebody's I mean, I can ask you for plans, maybe when wasn't Morgan Estates a long time ago?
Quite a bit, yeah.
All right. I'll do the best I can with it, I'm gonna
Yeah,
put
it's not gonna-
asterisks on it.
Yeah, it's an approximation
Okay.
of, you know,
Okay.
about what's the green space on, you know,
Yep.
Morgan Estates or Timberwood or,
Okay.
you know, versus.
So, when you read your answer to number 2, the determine that the project meets all regulatory requirements with the exception of waived items. I wrote in snow storage next to that. Do you feel you're meeting the regulatory requirement for snow storage on this application?
I absolutely do. We've been doing this for 29 years with notes that they can remove it. Now, I understand if you feel that that's not the way the reg should be written, then it should be written that you can't have it removed
That's not
off-site.
my question.
That's
That wasn't my
that's part of,
question.
you just said if I feel I meet it. I
wanna
said, yes,
know
I
if I
do
asked-
feel that I meet it based on what your requirement asks, because it doesn't say I can't remove it off-site. If your regulation said I couldn't remove it off-site, then I would say I didn't meet it. But your regulation does not tell me how I have to manage the snow. It just says I have to address it.
Thank you. Phil?
Regarding the snow, I've been looking at this, and the only thing I see that those 3 areas of 4 parking spaces are gonna be is, to me, that's where the snow storage is gonna be. Because when you come in, and you go in, and you come up to that island there in the middle, and you start making a left turn, when you're plowing, all your snow is going out to the right side as you go around. And when you come in, the easiest place to do is push it in where the parking spaces are. Then when you come around, pushing it back into those other parking spaces. And when you come back out, you've got that 4 spaces down there on the left-hand side by the entrance. That's the only place you can push the snow. I can't see the snow going where these are located. I mean, you got that common area between 10 and 12, and you got curbing. So I don't see it being a plow driver that's gonna push the snow there. I don't see a plow driver gonna push it between 16 and 17. The only place I see a plow driver being able to push the snow is the one on the left side when you come in. And those other 2, and those parking spaces. So, yeah, okay, so we don't say how you manage it. Okay, well, I guess you can pile your snow over there and just say that you're waiting for the guy to come take the snow away. It's been 2 weeks because everybody else is trying to get their snow taken away. I just don't see those being what's proposed, except for the one on the right. But again, you've got curbing that you gotta go over. So you're gonna go through there with a plow so that people can get out, and then you're gonna come in with a loader, and you're gonna lift it over the curbing, and you're gonna put it between the 2 buildings. I mean, if you eliminated one of those units, like number 10, then I could see you push that common area could be snow storage. If you eliminated one of the units where 16 or 17 is, I can see you pushing the snow in as you're coming around. That makes sense. But I don't see those proposed snow areas being realistic.
Mr. Chairman,
Please, sir.
normally these types of developments are not plowed. Usually they use a small loader or a bobcat. So they go, because they're cleaning all the driveways and the walkways. So they're not plowing with a plow normally.
So me and Dana, Bob, we're gonna give a phone call to I don't plow snow, so I'm gonna make a phone call. We're gonna show them this plan and ask them how they would plow this, because Bob's right, this isn't just plowing the road. Everybody gets their driveway plowed, their walkway plowed as part of the homeowners association. So it's all one package. So I will make sure it's obviously a very hot topic here, so I'm gonna make sure I do my homework here.
Well, I'm also looking, okay, if you get a 10-inch snowstorm, which is not an uncommon snowstorm here, and now all those snow for all those driveways, it's gonna have to go someplace. That's a lot of volume. I just don't see the volume in those 3 proposed snow storage spaces. unless you've gotten up something that's 20 or 30 feet tall.
So if you take a look at sheet 4, I just noticed too, and this probably makes more sense, where in the upper left-hand corner it says proposed play area with 4-foot chain link fence. There's a snow area that we showed there, and really that whole area should probably be the snow storage down in there, and then you have the path to get to it and put everything down there. But I'm going to take a look at it. We're going to talk to Bob, we're going to talk to some people and make sure we come back with something that makes sense to everybody.
Well, yeah, it just looks to me, if you're gonna go in there with a Bobcat, you're gonna go in there with, you're gonna have 2 or 3 Bobcats in there, and you're gonna be working close to a day to get all of that
Yep.
snow.
Happens in these developments.
Matt, is there any place, is there a possibility to use the 4 spaces at the entrance on the left and put snow behind them as well? It looks like an area that you can designate as well, unless there's some plantings in there that
There's not a lot of trees there.
would prevent that.
No, there's one tree that would just have to be moved slightly, but yes, that would be an area as
They
well.
are accessible spaces to go through the parking spaces to push stuff. And I concur with what the applicant said about the loaders and such. It's not all pickup trucks anymore. They, even if they plowed it to the curb and it was piled up along the curb line, oftentimes we go in and we pick it up and just drag it through the project and bring it out and stockpile it with, like you said, with a loader. So it's not inconceivable, it just looks like it's a little inconvenient in some of the locations you're showing.
Okay.
But you said you're gonna work on it.
Yep.
Anything else on this criteria and the answers for the conditional use permit? I'm not gonna have any votes on anything until we have our public hearing. So I would ask that at this point, if any board members have any other questions for the applicant regarding the presentation we had tonight prior to opening a public hearing, or then after. I'm sorry, just go ahead.
All right, thank you, Matt, for doing the elevations. So, I want to pull, so I want to talk about the elevation along with note 21. We can just talk about sheet 1, note 21.
We're on sheet 1, Barbara?
Yep, that'll do. And your grading. And the agreement, the easement, which you've recorded and you got from the abutter. So, and you also had a side agreement with Mr. Jones and Mrs. Jones, because not everything gets covered by the plan. So in conjunction with the easement, you had a side agreement. And it dealt with the fact that everybody agreed with the easement, the 6-foot final fence, which you have on the plan, which we're gonna clarify that you're installing it. I think there needs to be, and I don't remember on the easement doc, I don't think the fence is on the easement doc, that just had to do with the docs. But I think probably responsibility for maintenance of the fence, I don't, because I can't remember how close to property edges it is, and,
It's going to be about 2 feet inside of our, inside.
No.
You going to put it right on the property line? Oh, all right. I showed it here.
Well, we're gonna try to do the best we can.
right, given, I've
conditions
seen the
of-
stakes and the conditions, all right. So, I don't see, and anywhere on the plan, the issue, and I understand this may be beyond the scope, but there is an agreement to regrade the neighbor's property, which is very generous. And there's some beautiful pieces of granite that are gonna be covered up, I think, as a result.
No.
They'll be taken? It doesn't matter. So I
Fence
guess my
does.
question is, when it gets, is that on the abutter's property or on the applicant's property that we're regrading?
Our property.
Okay.
He's
It's-
filled right up to his, right up and
Well,
over
I'm
the.
not getting into who did what beforehand. I just want to understand that we're
I'm trying to answer the
regrading,
question.
and I want to know whether it's on the plan as to that section that you're regrading.
I did not fine tune grading up in there because it's too, he just wants to, as he's explained to me, be able to put the fence up there, so it was hard to show contour lines up in there. I mean, I could put some spot grades and stuff like that, but no, I did not regrade for a fence that was gonna be put on existing grade and just basically made sure it was kind of level for the area that's there.
But it's not clear to me it's gonna be put on all existing grade if you expand it, and you're telling me it's gonna be right on the property line. So that's why I was looking to see if there was anything on it that addressed that. I mean, I was happy to see the note.
Yep,
You
no.
know, with the fence on it.
I think we need to expand that a little bit there to make sure it's clear on that.
Because, I mean, it would be nice if you're known for the people who finally put to rest the issue of the boundary between these two properties and what's supposed to happen on it. I'm not trying to be sarcastic, but I'm just trying to make sure that that's all taken care of. And I didn't see enough in the plans to feel like it had really been addressed, so people, if they looked at it 5 years from now, would understand what was supposed to be done and whose responsibility it was.
And just so everybody knows, the easement, the driveway easement happened, and then they came back with that, and I had a day to get the plans. So, I mean, I'm sorry,
I'm not-
I want to get it back in that, but we will address that.
Right?
Oh, you took care of it with a note.
Right, but they want to expand a little bit. Who's maintaining it? Who's putting it in? How's it being graded? 3 little, I mean.
Because it's not in the
Details
condo
of
docs,
that.
so
Yeah.
I think it needs to be somewhere on the plan.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I'd like if he damages it, for him to fix it,
Well, I mean, I think that's standard,
yeah.
that would be standard tort liability, so that I don't think is, you know, we don't get into that on anything. If somebody runs into your building, you expect them
Right.
to fix it, not the condo association, right? All right, so then, Matt, thank you for the grade, because that is exactly what I asked, because it is hard to walk around and envision where the heights are gonna be based on what's there now. And Joanne, I think, pointed out that, you know, you picked a building there at the grade. I think that's probably where it gets to be the best level grade. I think it's sort of going,
I tried to pick the worst spot. Are you kidding me? I picked the easiest spot.
no, I'm just saying that the driveway sort of goes up. I'm being very technical here. The driveway goes up,
Oh, so you're saying little height, maybe?
and so
But then
by
I'm
the
gonna be
t-
lower here, so I'm gonna be looking right at the first floor. Okay, I mean, I can cut a second one.
No. So, I mean,
But his
you,
house is way so high.
Yeah.
His house looks over that.
yeah, no, his house is very high. The grades are very difficult, but I'm just talking about the driveway going up. So the reason I'm asking, I understand why you picked this, but the reality is what you've said is the plans call for 1, 2, and 3 to essentially have second floor balconies as compared to all of the, and I say second floor, if you were in an elevator, you'd be pressing 1. Whereas all the other ones are, I'm gonna say ground level, from what I understand. So the house, the applicant is correct, is up. But I haven't, and the house is still pretty low there, but when I was out there, I was having a hard time picturing where the building was as compared to the current house, right? Because I was trying to, so where, do you have an idea of where that first floor balcony is going to be as compared to where the bottom of the fence is gonna be?
So if you look at proposed unit 4, these are actually patios walking out the first floor on that.
Right, I'm not worried about 4, because 4 is a
Okay.
ground level patio. It's 1, 2, and 3 that the patio is actually, the patio becomes a deck, from what I understand from the
No,
application.
patios are 1 through 13, 25, and 26. That's the note that's right off of 7.
Didn't I hear somebody say that there was gonna be something,
And
one
then-
level up on 1, 2, and 3?
That's what they're seeing.
Or is it on the other side?
It's on the other side. So
Oh,
on the
okay,
other
that's
side-
what I'm-
Yeah,
that's-
and then the other side, you can see, you have 3 stories shown on that unit 22. So that one's
Okay.
gonna have your deck halfway up there. You'll
All
have a
right, the
walkout in
ones
the
facing
basement.
the, okay.
So you'll have a basement
I'm not
walkout here.
concerned about that side.
Yeah, and then you'll have a deck here, but that's on this side.
No,
No, these don't
okay.
have those there. Those are all.
I thought when you talked about it, you were talking about 1, 2, and 3. Yes,
These
I
are
see it here.
292, and this is 294, 96, 98. This thing is,
I thought you said as to the buildings on the right. I think you must have said to the
On the
buildings
left.
on the left.
Sorry, yep.
So thank you.
Good.
Yep.
Matt, your plan, sheet 1, is the dark black line the property line, or what is the dark black line on this sheet 1 with the Jones neighbor? One goes alongside the driveway up to a pivot point and then it goes to your back. Is that the property line, the black line?
Yes, yep.
Okay, so the applicant has just stated to us that they're gonna put the fence on the property line.
Well,
I would ask you
he
to,
was wrong, it's outside the easement, though.
I would have you just clarify that statement, if it's going to be where you show it on the plan, or if
Yes.
it's gonna be a different location.
Yeah, I got you.
shown on the plan.
As shown on the plan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is,
And it would appear that you've approximately graded a 4-foot wide strip there for the
Yes.
fence installers
That's
to
what I
be able
showed,
to walk on?
I showed a 4-foot hatched area, not graded, but hatched area to me.
So they can walk and install fence posts and
That's what we-
and have a place to stand and work.
Yes,
Yep.
that's what we
Because
envisioned.
according to that, this picture over here, it's pretty steep to try to,
Yeah, it's a 6 to 8 foot drop.
okay, well,
huge.
that's good for me. I just want to clarify that statement. That's-
Yeah.
just
Colleen?
along that line then, should that existing or that proposed tree line be adjusted to accommodate the fence? I mean, I assume you're gonna be taking those trees down.
As a matter of fact, I was told by the abutter that there's a stand closer to the highway, there's some pines that are gonna come down and some other stuff, so I don't think your little tree line is probably accurate.
It's a question my tech asked, and I said they would weave it through the trees, and I had them leave it, but apparently there might be some
But
other
he
ones.
wants the pines, he wants all the pines cut.
Okay, I'll work with that, and I'll get it revised, the tree line.
Just give us a, yeah,
Yep,
an
update tree
Just
line.
wanted to match the plan.
Yep.
Any more questions before I open a public hearing?
Oh, the fire department, and maybe this is more for you, Joanne, it said that they were still waiting for final review by the fire department, but it looked like the truck turning plan had been submitted. Maybe there was some confusion on if it was a Nashua truck versus,
The first one that they submitted was for Nashua.
okay,
Then he resubmitted, but I don't recall seeing anything from the
okay,
fire
so we're still
department,
waiting
did
on.
you?
The truck is correct. I
Okay.
checked
He
the
gave us
size.
the
You
dimensions.
checked the truck and
Okay.
has the fire department
I don't
provided
think-
any
They
additional
provided
comment?
new comments,
Okay.
but I don't think,
Not
right?
about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they did review this most recent plan, I think, right?
They did, but they didn't
Okay.
review, as
Yeah.
far as I know, I have not seen comments on the fire truck review.
Okay. Thanks.
So we'll just say Scott reviewed it.
Okay, folks. At this time, don't move until we see if anybody wants to come up, or someone wants to come up and speak. I'll ask you guys to vacate the chair. So at this time, we're going to open the public comment. If someone wants to speak, please come up to the table, sit down in the chair, state your name, and give us your comments.
I'm the abutter, George Jones.
Mr. Jones, welcome.
So, Bob and Dana came down to my home about 2 weeks ago, I'd say. That date could be off a couple of days, I'm not certain, to discuss this because it had come up at the prior meeting and it was an issue to them and also a concern to myself and my wife. As a result, most of my conversation was directed with Bob himself. And in the course of that discussion, we walked over the existing lines here. And actually, there was an earlier survey done back in '97, and the lines that were drawn by Nietzsche, whatever the surveying group is, were pretty accurate, I felt. And I met with one of the people from them, and his name was Chris, and he was very straightforward. I felt comfortable with him as well. The point being, there were two slivers, I stole that word from somebody at this meeting brought it up. Was it you? Thank you. Because it's looking like our driveway was penetrating all this property, and the fact of the matter was, there's two slivers that were impacted on, and after 41 years, I said, well, you know, that's a hell of a surprise to me. But in any case, my wife and I wanted to clear it up. Bob seemed like a reasonable man to me. I had never met him before, had no idea who he was until he introduced himself. The fact of the matter is, and I'm glad that we have this opportunity setting here, but he asked me what it was that I was looking for, and I would hope he would step up and correct anything I'm saying that's incorrect, but I don't have a habit of doing that stuff, at least not intentionally. So basically, what we decided was we were going to deal with the driveway being regraded because there's a drop. It starts maybe in areas, could be 18 inches, 2 feet, and it goes up substantially. Somebody said 6 to 8 feet. And in back, way in back, which wouldn't impact much on this, it goes up even higher than that. So the suggestion was made by either he or myself, I forget which one of us. Well, let's fill that out level, grade it out level, and start a fence on top of that. So a fence would basically be driveway height at the beginning of the 6-foot fence. That's my understanding of it. I also asked him at the time, could you take out any and all pine trees along there? Wouldn't it make sense to have a fence and have they're fairly big pine trees. That's how Mass Road got its name here. And in any case, I asked him if he could take out the other existing pine trees because I didn't want the expense of doing that. And once everything else is down, you don't want to have the occasional 1 or 2 left standing. Doesn't make any sense. It's a liability and a potential big expense for us to get involved in. So he seemed very, very agreeable about that. The one question in response to that concerned me a little bit tonight that didn't seem to be very clear, but was to me while we were walking over it. And unfortunately, one of my staff people, Diana, she could not be here tonight. She's very good, much better speaker than myself. But Bob's and my discussion clearly was, if this is the end of the driveway, we'll build it out, not the driveway, not the paved section, but just a level section so we could put the fence up. But in no way was I ever under the impression until 10 minutes ago, somebody meant, well, even if we build that out, we're gonna put that fence right along your existing property line, right along the edge of the paved driveway, so, am I correct or
George,
incorrect on that?
You can give us your comments, we'll put them in the record, and then if the applicant can come up and address your comments, we don't.
Okay, wonderful.
So your comment is you want to verify the location and elevation of the fence? Is
Well,
that what I'm
one,
hearing?
the trees, big pine trees that I wish to have down, even if they're not a direct line, but very close to that fence, that they would take them down while they're taking down all the other trees. Okay?
That's good.
So that may be 2 or 3 extra trees. I don't know, might be less than that.
Okay, sir.
The other thing was, though, if my driveway stops right here, the fence doesn't go right along the edge of that. That clearly was in our discussion, so that's what I'd like to see discussed. And it was important to the two gentlemen who were there, Bob and Dana, to get something okay that very day, because we were thinking maybe, give us a week or something, to hash this over, speak about with the attorney. And we felt, and I felt, I have no reason to not feel that way today. He's probably a very honorable man. He's just gonna keep his word, and maybe that was a slight misstatement right here. So, I don't know, but if you're telling me you'll clarify that,
We'll ask the applicant to address your comment.
okay. And the other thing, what's the maintenance of the fence? Obviously, what you just said is common sense, If I were to run my car, or let's say my wife more likely were to run her car into a fence.
Throwing her under the bus tonight? When do you have to sit down, George?
We pay for it, but, normal wear and tear, like we saw down Shaw's Plaza
Yeah.
with the fence,
Yeah.
I would expect that. And I don't know how the hell you do that, are they always responsible? Do the new buyers, But the average homeowner walking into something like this is, I don't know.
Okay, sir. We thank you for your comments.
Okay,
Very
thank you.
Anybody else that wants to speak at this public hearing tonight? Yeah, move your chair over a little bit there. You didn't get it. Okay, anybody else want to speak at the public hearing tonight? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing for tonight. So I'll ask the applicants to come up and address the concerns if they wish to. You can address it tonight, or you can come back with a revised plan if that's what you're going to end up doing.
Yeah, there's an agreement in place. Bob will figure it out here. It'll probably be 2 feet off the driveway and then on the property line in the back or something like that. But we'll work it out. It's
You'll work it out
nothing
with
we're
Mr.
gonna
Jones,
worry about
thank
too
you.
much here.
And then in regards to the liability, long-term liability of the fence.
There'll be notes in it that the homeowners association will be responsible for the fence.
It's
Did you
on,
hear that, sir?
I'm sorry, I can't, no.
The homeowners association would be responsible for the maintenance of the fence. That's
Okay.
important.
And did you hear the answer to the first question about the location of the fence?
I did not.
Could you repeat it for
Yep.
the applicant, please, for the,
We would work with you to, the agreement that's been signed, we'll make sure that we follow that there, and if it's something that there, we'll come back and make sure it's all set. But we're thinking it's 2 feet off the edge of the pavement, and then probably in the back on your property line, where there's no driveway, I don't know.
Okay, so.
But you guys can work it out, and he'll just tell me and I'll put it on a plan. We'll take care of it.
Okay,
They're going to amend the plan?
Yes.
And come back for another hearing?
Right.
So
I
we'll
see.
get to see the revised plan before the board approves it.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we'll keep the fence away from the driveway.
there's going to be a subsequent meeting here when they come back. There will be another public hearing at the meeting, so that's not your only chance to speak. You'll have a chance to speak at a future
I
date.
would
if you-
have
if you-
nothing additional to say.
Okay, just wanted
As
to make
long
sure
as
you know it's not your
everybody keeps
only,
their word.
not your only bite at the apple. Okay, board members, anything? I think we should discuss a motion to consider this to a date certain. Anybody have any suggestions?
So I had suggested February 8th. Is that?
Do you have a second hearing in February?
We do.
And the reason being, I heard that I have to go to the sewer commission, and they meet the second Tuesday, which is after the 8th, so I'd rather get the sewer commission meeting taken care of before I come back here.
So that would be
Well-
the 27th.
Let's not, the reason they have to meet with the sewer commission is because under our regulations, they have to find out if there's capacity in the line for their project before they move forward.
The applicant doesn't have a problem with the second meeting.
Well, that's fine, I just didn't want to,
Then they can have everything done.
When is your
Last
meeting?
condition.
this Tuesday
It'll
before.
be 9, 10, 11,
It's
12, 13.
because of the way the first is,
Oh.
our second meeting is
Yeah, it's the second week.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the fourth week. So there's 5
Yes, it's a
Thursdays
leap
in
year.
February, yeah. So anyway, it would be the 22nd. The second meeting.
Everybody shaking their heads, everybody good? So,
Motion to
date certain?
continue to February 22nd.
Second.
What's the motion, Barbara?
February 22nd. And that will, so the drainage should all be able to be revised.
Yes.
Oh, it should be done.
February 22nd.
Hopefully have AOT permit.
Yeah.
So the motion is to continue this
To
to
February.
February 22nd, you said?
Yep,
I wrote 9 and I don't know why.
the second meeting in
September.
the second month on the 22nd.
Colleen, did you second
I
that?
seconded that.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of continuance to February 22nd, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstentions? We'll see you on the 22nd. Did you hear that date? February 22nd.
Thank you very much, board. Have a good night.
Good night, thank you for coming in.
Good night.
Okay, well, give us a second here to get organized. Oh, that's Nathan.
Yeah, these mics go to the TV when they record it for the TV. But they
I
do
got so many papers for
have
tonight, I
mics
can't find
that sit
it.
on.
There it is.
Yeah,
K and A.
me too.
I know, huh?
All right, Joanne, would you like to brief the board on the second application tonight, which is a conceptual request, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And it is new business.
Yes.
Joanne,
So
this floor is yours.
we're looking at map 5, lot 49-1, which is adjacent to the new car wash on Mast Road. It's on the corner of Mast Road and Sparkle Lane, I think it's called.
Did I miss the name of that road in the application? Because I just laugh every time I see it.
I think it's Sparkle Court.
Sparkle Court, okay.
Was that on our?
I have
was
Sparkle
that-
Drive on.
Was that proposed at our original subdivision
That's why I asked,
request
because
on
I
that?
can't believe I let that go without.
Did we have that name when we did the subdivision on that lot?
the road
We did.
names?
We did, and we all didn't sit around and
No.
laugh for like 15 or 20?
Sparkle like the, like.
Wait, we did.
I think it's because it's nice.
There's a car wash.
Sparkly car.
We did.
All right, so are we all done with Sparkle Lane, Barbara?
So
Move
we're
on.
here with Bowler Engineering, and the owner is in the audience, Kevin Miller. And they're here tonight to talk to the board about a conceptual plan for a 10,500 square foot retail building. Kevin is interested in he's either interested in subdividing the land, I'm not even sure at this point,
Yeah,
or condominializing.
yeah, that would be on the other country.
And then.
What was the answer to that question?
So the property would be turned into a condominium for land purposes.
Think
The front-
Starbucks.
The front would be the 10,500 square foot retail, and Kevin would retain the back half for something in the future, having to do with his own business. So that's the proposal at the moment. They need a waiver for parking. Their requirements are 54 parking spaces, and they've provided 33. And Scott did.
55 is the required?
Yes. Scott does have a few comments concerning the layout of the entranceway. A few of the departments did comment. Typically, they don't so much on a conceptual, but The sewer department said they would be required to tie into sewer. The sewer main runs down the rail trail in that area. There is no sewer on Sparkle Way, so they would have to extend it along the frontage. The fire department wants them to provide the truck turning diagram, access to 3 sides of the building. He wants to know whether there's a loading dock. He's asking about how the parking will impact the propane tank's location. He needs access to the fire sprinkler connection.
Well,
It's just all technical
if this
things.
is a conceptual, we'll deal with those
Yeah,
issues
that's-
when
it's kind of
when and if
in
an
the
application
future.
comes in.
As far as the zoning comments, Derek had commented that the proposed lease line presents potential issues with the development of the rear portion in the future because the proposed footprint is 10,460 square feet. The maximum building footprint in that zone, which is CIFZ, is 25,000. So the development of the rear lot would be able to use the remaining footprint excess of 25, but will require a conditional use permit. And then they talk about potential signage, but that's the gist
We're a long
of
way
it.
from worrying about what the.
Yeah, they're just here to give an overview of what they'd like to do and ask some questions as well.
Questions from staff, for staff from board members? Seeing none, I will ask Joanne if you, are you done, Joanne?
Yes.
Scott, would you like to reserve comments for later? Or do you want to speak now?
I mean, I could just go over quickly my largest concern with this, and it's the intersection layout.
The intersection where the Sparkle Lane comes in,
Yeah, where it meets the actual driveway to the Easy Express car wash.
what is there now? Is it?
It's a T. You can kind of see it.
The
on
hammerhead T, right?
Yeah, it's they're kind of deviating from the shape of it and turning it into this awkward 3-way stop at a 4-way intersection, which I appreciate that they didn't try to put a stop on the inbound section from Mast Road, because that would be a nightmare if it ever queued up onto Mast Road. But
Is this all private or town
this is private,
Okay.
but private roads do have to meet town
standard?
standards.
Okay.
So the hammerhead itself would have been more, I think, less awkward than this if you could get to this development from one leg, where this one is now this kind of like there's a chicane introduced, like this little S-turn. The 2 intersecting stop bars for the side roads are, I measured like 40 feet center line to center line. Our regs require intersections to be spaced at least 125 feet. And I'm just concerned that if you've got 3 people at this stop, there's going to be confusion with the geometry of the road, the stop signs, stop bar separation. And that's my biggest concern with this design. And I spoke with Matt about it a month or 2 ago, and this is a new iteration on what they had come up with before this one. I like this one a little more than the one that I saw previously. The other one had the stop bars, I think they were like 140 feet apart. The Easy Express stop bar and the new development stop bar. And it was more of a T, it was just this really, it's an awkward situation is what it is. I think a 3-leg is still the best option though. So that's my piece.
Okay, so we'll, anything else you want to ask? You good for now? Okay, well, at that point, we'll ask the applicants to identify themselves for the record and make a presentation.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. For the record, Nat Bombasi with Bowler Engineering representing the applicant, Abashan Realty Company.
Could you repeat your name, please?
Matt Bombasi.
Could you spell that?
Yeah, sure, B-O-M-B-A-C-I. Not the first time I've been
And
asked.
what is the firm?
And
Bowler, B-O-H-L-E-R.
And your name?
Hi, good evening. Eamon Moran, Eamon, E-A-M-O-N, last name Moran, M-O-R-A-N. I'm the applicant and president of the Aubuchon Realty Company.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So give your presentation.
Just a quick background, I know this is pretty recent, so I'm sure most folks remember it, but this property was subdivided back, I think, in 2020. At that time, there was a subdivision approved, which created this T intersection here for Sparkle Way. There was also a site plan approval for the Easy Car Wash. This is kind of what it looks like today. To date, what we've done our boundary and topographic survey. We've done soil testing in preparation for the soil design. We've had a wetland scientist go out, just take a look, even though that was done as part of the previous application, just to make sure we were squared away there. Our next step wanted to be this. I think there were a couple of items, one being the waiver Joanne mentioned, and then some of the intersection things we were thinking of there. We wanted to get the board's opinion on before we took it really into a full design. So obviously welcome for any comments, but those are the two items we thought the board might be most interested in discussing. The project is proposing a 10,500 square foot dry goods retail store with 33 parking spaces. The use is permitted by right in the commercial industrial flex zone. When laying this out, what we were trying to do, if we could, was to provide landscape buffer between the building and street, so no parking along the front, if that's something we could accomplish, with parking on the side and the rear. Loading and trash enclosure at the back, so screened from the main right-of-way. And also, we'll obviously need to demonstrate this as part of a formal application, but making sure delivery trucks and emergency egress trucks could come in, circle around, and get through the site. As Scott noted, he was nice enough to meet with us, and we knew this intersection was going to be a little bit of a discussion point, so that's why we met with Scott first, and while we're here. We're happy to use the T intersection. The T comes through here, so we could speed our development through here. What we thought might be the first question from the board is, well, what's going on to the rear development? How is that going to be accessed? And just instead of kicking the can down the road, we want to at least take a stab at that and come up with something the board might be comfortable with. So that's kind of resolved instead of just ignoring the issue, and then perhaps it becomes an issue in the future after we've walked away. So I've added these circulation arrows just to kind of demonstrate what we were thinking. Right now, it kind of comes to just a stop here, so people would come in here for the car wash, or just turn right in here for this other remaining land. We wanted to try to straighten this out so it could feed 3 lots. So the idea wasn't really to have an awkward intersection here, although maybe the stop bar here coming out might make it a little less awkward, but to just have clear circulation front to back. So this is the main circulation path. Those are the people that can flow through the site without really any obstruction. So shown in green and blue here. These orange arrows here, these people are under stop control. They need to stop and wait for a moment to go. So free flow this way, free flow that way. Coming in here, stop control, so they're not impacting that flow. So you can just get through the site rather than in a situation where maybe we had a T intersection here, a second intersection here, so stop, these 3 kind of offset stop bars that we just thought would be a little awkward if we were to keep the T intersection.
Scott, you
I
want
just
to comment?
had a thought. What if the entrance at the top was just an entrance in, and then the traffic
here?
from that lot had to exit through the lower one?
Yeah.
And it would remove some conflict points, and I'd be a little more comfortable with it that way.
Yeah, this is an extra access. This is the access we need for loading to come in and back out here. So I think we'd definitely be amenable to discussion.
So you're talking about making the driveway that's closer to Mass Road a one-way out only?
One way in.
Or one-way in?
And then they could come out through the top one where your intersection's at the straightaway, and I think it removes some of the odd conflict points.
It probably would look best if you're able to work with the existing pavement pattern and use the pavement that's there now to generate a right turn into your site.
Yeah.
And then you can have the straight ahead leg be to the left of that, as you have it shown. But get rid of that whole chicane mess in there, because tractor trailers are not gonna be able to make those turns.
Yeah, we wouldn't want a tractor trailer coming here. So
trailers are going in there.
Yeah, well, guess what happens when the truck driver shows up and he doesn't know you? Drives in the wrong driveway.
Yeah.
Nothing new.
So the reason we kind of, I guess, bended this way is because we didn't want there to be kind of a sea of pavement this way, but if this was just a right in, I think that's something
Yeah.
that
I
could.
think
that
so. Yeah,
could
you
work,
could
but-
Square it up, right?
Yeah, we could square it up.
Use the existing curb line almost and, work with the existing conditions.
Yeah, I think that would work. Yeah, again, I know this is, ideally we'd pull this straight through. Unfortunately, this is a stormwater basin, it's an easy car wash, so we don't have the ability to edit that anymore, but we wanted to just make sure we had clean circulation through so we didn't have as many conflict points. So we did think this was the best. I wish I had thought of the idea that Scott had mentioned. I think that does take out some of that additional conflict that really wouldn't, I guess, be necessary. If we could
I
we can pull it
I
out.
didn't think of it when we met either, so.
And where would the truck traffic travel?
Truck traffic
That.
would come through, they would pull through here, back in here, this would be loading, and then they'd pull out this way.
I did see truck movements for that on the initial ones that he sent me to.
Joanne, I don't, irregardless of this plan, since this is a conceptual, I like the green, the blue, and the red to show the turns and what's the through and the turning, so if you can encourage other applicants to use it, that would be great.
There we go.
He's at the forefront.
And then your long-term plan is to make condominiums out of these parcels?
Correct, so I think Eamon's condominium would be this front, approximately an acre, but this would be his part of the property. This would be, shared common access, and I assume there'll be utilities through here, and then the back would be left to Mr. Miller.
And we don't have a proposed use for the back at this time?
I don't think so, no.
I think we need to talk about parking spaces.
Yep.
Well, we will. I would just, no, I better reserve my
Well,
comments.
What,
Barbara?
I appreciate the greenage, and I'm assuming we're gonna tee off a little bit of that greenage so you can make your turn in and still get all your spaces. What are you gonna do for signage and visibility from the road? I mean, let's face it, the car wash is like a beacon. You can't miss it. And they did a very nice job with it, so that's fine, but you say you're gonna have all this greenage and stuff, is this, I mean, it's up to the applicant, obviously, but are you gonna be able to, what's your signage plan?
So I think.
Because I think you said it's retail, right?
Yep, yeah, I think for right now, we have no current proposal for there to be a sign. If we did want to assign, I think we'd have to go to the selectmen to get to place it inside the rail trail property. I know there'll be signage along certainly this side of the building. I think there is some visibility through there, and we certainly wouldn't, we want to landscape the front, but we wouldn't landscape it such that we screened it. It would be more to complement the.
Did the
the
fire
architecture of the
department
building.
request access to 3 sides of the building?
They did. I have a call into them just to clarify what they meant, because access could mean man access, or it could mean truck access.
They're gonna want truck access.
They're gonna want truck.
Do you think they'll want it on all 3 sides? That's not
I'm
customary.
thinking they're
but-
gonna want pavement on the gable, on the end facing 114, so they can get a truck down that side of the building for access for firefighting. But you can clarify that with them and adjust your plans.
Is it sprinkler?
Not customarily, it's below the threshold.
Okay.
The square footage threshold, what's that, 21,000?
12,000.
12,000.
Is this one tenant?
It'll be 1 tenant, yeah.
Joanne, we already know that very likely there's going to be a driveway right next to the applicant's boundary line, behind that proposed building. Would that qualify for fire access?
Well, first it depends how close it is and the grade, next to it. And then I would assume that the owner of that property would,
No, I don't
I think there's a
that-
riprap ditch between the two
Yeah, I don't-
I wouldn't
Properties.
assume that a neighbor's driveway would be the third side access, because that's someone else's
he
land.
would have to give permission.
Oh, it'd have to be, you'd have to have a
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
deal. I think this applicant is gonna have to follow the fire department's regulations and try and put it on his own property if that's what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't know if the tenant over there, the new owner next door, is gonna have equipment parked along the back there, or
True, yeah.
trailer storage, or
Yeah.
any number of items that would eliminate the accessibility.
I'm just bringing it up because it's an easement all the way to the acreage way up the hill.
Right.
So it's a
But
town.
does the town benefit that easement?
Yes, the town benefits by the easement.
I thought it's not just for Mr. Roberts?
No.
Okay.
Why?
But
Because
even,
it's
but
a,
even if the town is
why?
beneficiary of the
Because it's a
easements,
class 6, we're not on that
we can't.
application. Let's
No,
get
No,
off
for
that.
somebody else,
So-
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I understand your conceptual, I know you don't have to divulge what you're gonna do with the back, but it would have to meet, anything you do with the back would have to be a planning board approved plan for the back.
Well, you're not even the owner of the back, right? Or you're not even gonna lease the back, correct?
No, that,
Yeah, we won't have any interest.
Well, let me
ownership
clarify,
interest.
who owns the property? Oh, you do, okay.
yeah. And that part wouldn't be part of this application. We just didn't want to hide that fact that we think there might be development in the back, because that might impact how the board just reviews the application, in particular things like access.
Well, then I'll lean around and say that the back parcel will have to be subject to planning board approval for any use in the back.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, he
Thank
knows
you.
that.
Yep,
We've
that's
had
what's up.
discussions with,
Well, I'm just prefacing my remarks based on what's been going on there for the last 3 or 4 years. We have no site plan
and
for
he knows
truck
that
parking
too.
there. Well, I'm just, it's part of my job to say that.
No, I know, I've told him what you've said. And so he's, that's why I think it gave him a push to
I'm glad
start
to hear that, thank
doing
you.
something.
Okay. I just don't want to see the green trucks out there. Okay, this looks pretty doable.
And I guess I'll jump into the parking waiver too, because I
Yep.
think that's the other reason we were here. So the parking waiver is based on square footage of a building, so 5 per 1,000 square feet. I know the town, it sounds like you are looking at regulations. I don't know if counts was the thing that you guys were looking at, but we run into this quite a bit, in particular with retail users or dry good users, because retail could be a ton of different things. A grocery store, I think 5 per 1,000 would be extremely, I guess, appropriate. Even for like a small user, I always use Cumbies because there's one in town. That would probably fall under the same category. It's 5,000 square feet. I think 25 spaces for a Cumbies would be pretty appropriate for a user like this. It's got a lot of square footage, but it doesn't necessarily have as many patrons, so 5 per 1,000 really is more spaces than they need by a little bit. So Amen has a bunch of properties throughout New England. 33 is usually the number they provide, and they never don't have enough parking. The other thing we would plan on providing, if the board was amenable, is IDE has a parking generation manual where they have anticipated peak parking demands for all different uses. So we prepare a kind of a report or a summary of different uses where this might be, in particular dry good uses. So general retail, hardware store, auto sales, and give you the peak parking demand for all those users. We've done this analysis before, so we know it's 33 spaces, but that would be kind of our support for the parking waiver, just to not overpark the property.
You'll probably gain a few spaces there if you redesign that intersection into a one-way in.
We would, yeah.
You gain a couple, 2 or 3 there possibly. And the potential 13 green bank parking spaces, are they included in your present calculation, or are they not included?
They wouldn't be. So one thing we try to do if we have the space available to it is show where we could build more parking if we needed to. We wouldn't want to build those. We'd rather provide the landscape spaces. But if for whatever reason in the future there's a parking problem and the board wanted to require more spaces, we think there's almost no chance something like that would happen. It's never happened. But they would be there if the board wanted to require them to build them.
Snow storage?
Yeah, it will certainly be a snow storage area.
I was gonna say that, but I didn't wanna.
I
Sensitive
went there,
subject.
I went there. You've heard enough about that tonight.
I appreciate the idea of kind of, that there's a potential for future parking that could be built. So if the waiver is granted based on this user and these counts, because I do think we need to think, well, if we're approving a site plan for a retail tenant, and then if this user goes away, there's another retail, at least we know that there's a potential to expand beyond the 33. There's, 13 additional spaces banked, so I think it doesn't quite get to the, full requirement, but since we're looking at regulations anyways, that gives me a little bit of extra comfort in, considering a waiver.
We've developed a lot of square footage in the New England, and it never suits anyone to overpark a site. In my experience with our uses that we think about, and dozens of times we've offered this, make us build this if we're wrong, area, which is what I call it, and my dad used to call it, but we've never built it because we have a good feel of the retailers and the customers and the the trip generation and how long they're in the stores and that sort of thing, so. Thought I'd add that.
From a stormwater standard or perspective, I like pavement reductions, so I'm not completely opposed to it.
So if you like that green area that you just spoke, where the green bank parking spaces are, now if you were to develop those spaces, you'd lose all that green area, right? So
Yeah.
what's to stop you from moving that line back 16 feet and providing a larger green area so that if you did give them up, you would still have a green area there?
Sure, yeah, so.
That's a consideration.
Yep, yeah, so I don't know if I have a topo plan for the whole property, but this property is pretty encumbered by topo, and there's a wetland to the back. It really, I'm sure you're all familiar with it, it really raises an elevation to the back, so there's really a limited development footprint, so in consideration of, quite honestly, Mr. Miller, we don't want to take every single square inch of his good land and just leave him the stuff that's ledge and sloped at 2-to-1, so we're just trying to be respectful and keep everything pulled in as tight as we can.
And I'm just trying to see our regulations have room to grow if necessary. So it's an equal balance here.
When you do your stormwater report, would you include that impervious to make sure that it could be handled? Because I
Yeah.
think you were talking about on a chambered system.
Yeah, customarily, if we did have green bank spaces, again, we don't think they'd be built, but we would model it as if they're impervious, they are built,
Okay.
and then it'd just be slightly oversized, I guess.
Okay. Thank you.
And you've read our landscaping requirements. We have some pretty strict landscaping requirements for these sites.
Yep, we have here, shown here is drawn by an engineer, so ignore it, but we have a landscape architect in-house, and they'll pull together
I
a full
mean,
landscape
they
plan.
specifically number trees and shrubs, and there's a whole different schedule you have to look at.
Yep, no problem.
And you know about our night sky requirement in
For sure.
Goffstown?
Yep, we'll have a full lighting plan, all dark sky compliant, full cutoff lighting. And I will know we've spoken initially with DOT, this has a DOT permit for Sparkaway, so we'll just be amending that permit as part of the project too with DOT.
Board members have questions?
Yes. I'm aware that the parcel to the west, we've seen plans where everything between that proposed development and Mass Road, the landscaping would be provided by the developer, which included attractive landscaping over the town's park. Conceivably, the landscaping could be proposed here too, because to the public, what they see to the front of this building appear to be, part of your parcel, but it really isn't.
Until the town decides to go in there and do something with the rail trail and make it wider, then all the landscaping goes away.
So
let's make sure we
I'm
put the
just-
landscaping on his own parcel.
offering that an agreement with the park department concerning attractive landscaping would be beneficial for what the public sees of your building and what the town benefits by landscaping.
Okay. Board members have any suggestions or comments for these applicants tonight for their conceptual hearing?
I have a question. Joanne, is there anything in our regulations that would prevent them from having only one exit on this site? Is that gonna cause a problem that you know of?
You mean for the parking lot?
Yeah.
You mean that you described?
If we're talking about
change?
revising it, so we square it up a little bit, so the entrance closest to Mass Road is
One way
more
in.
of a T and one way.
No, I don't think so.
I can't think of anything like that.
Well,
I
it's
mean,
a
the
good
car-
question. and
The
should
car
be
wash only
investigated.
has one exit.
Huh?
The car wash only has one exit. I guess it's not retail, but.
Right.
So-
What's your concern?
I don't want the fire
Regulations.
department to come back, or somebody to come back and say, you need to make this
Two-way.
two-way.
Okay, more life
That's my-
safety oriented, okay.
It's not a design issue, it's more, I don't want you to go through it and then somebody say, no, we need an exit there in case it gets blocked back
Well, the
here.
fire department's already saying they need three-sided access.
Well, that's access as compared to
The building.
exit, to the building
The building.
itself.
And they're not sure how they would provide that, so.
You could just do 12 feet of pavement in front of the building.
Yeah, they just take away some of the green and put pavement there.
Why don't you tell us how you propose to handle the sewer on this site?
Sure, so I think we'll have to make a new connection. I believe the Easy Car Wash has a connection through here, so I guess per the staff comments, they had just noted that they think the sewer connection needs to come through the existing sewer easement, so I guess we'll be connecting at the sewer line here and bringing it into the site.
How about the parcel in the back? You're gonna make provisions, if you're gonna pave all that, you're gonna make provisions for the sewer line to the back?
Yeah, I guess this area here would be shared, so water and sewer. I think the water line kind of stubs off here, and there's a hydrant here, so we'll be moving that hydrant, stubbing our water this way, and then that area would be available for them to extend to the back.
My question for you is if you're gonna pave that access to the back,
Here?
with the blue arrow, is
Oh,
that
yeah.
proposed to be paved?
Yes.
So are you gonna put all your sewer infrastructure into the back of the lot so you don't have to dig that pavement all up to put sewer lines in later?
Yeah, I guess we'll work that out with the.
Yeah, because
Sewer and
you'll have to
water.
actually construct a sewer line with manholes up through there,
Yeah, sewer.
And water too.
and water as well, to the back for future use. And any other utility you might want. Okay. Good. You will have to appear in front of the sewer commission to make sure there's, you can do all that before you keep drawing plans.
Got it, yeah, I got that note from the last hearing, so I'll make sure to reach out to them.
TRC should have told you that.
They probably did, my notes are never any good. I wrote them down, I probably wrote sewer and then did great.
And then Manchester Water Works is the water provider out there.
We did, Mr. Chair, I attended that TRC.
I knew you probably.
I know.
Do you have a typical design of this, whatever this business is,
For the building.
for the building itself that would somewhat, not, I don't want to say match, but somewhat blend into the car wash, or will it be kind of like night and day?
They have to submit drawings to us so we can look at them when we get them.
Yeah,
I
we'll,
know, I'm
Are you
just
We'll be
asking
s-
if they're gonna have a blue roof?
yeah, we're,
No, I just want to make sure it's.
yeah, I
not-
gotta be careful. Yeah, we'll be submitting conceptual elevations as part of our application.
Okay.
To the extent I'm gonna copy the car wash's architecture, I don't wanna set any,
You don't have to.
expectation that I would.
The car wash is the gem on that road. Everybody loves the car wash building because it looks so nice. You're not obligated to build the car wash building, even though we ask you for submittals on what your
Yeah.
building's gonna look like. Colors, window locations,
I
just
mean,
general.
sometimes we like blue roofs, and other times we tell them to get rid of the blue roof. So,
Yeah.
you never know.
I've
You're not being held to a standard that's the same as the.
Well,
car wash.
I was reading your guys' architectural guidelines and pedestrian focuses and some of the wording that I was reading just this afternoon. And it would adhere to that. We'd keep that in mind. You don't want long spanses along sidewalks. You want them broken up. You want the pedestrian to understand kind of like visually where they are as it pertains to, storefronts, not too much glass, but no glass.
Okay.
We'll put that all into consideration. Do I have a standard building? No, I don't. We were in New England, so you can get in trouble just doing like, I do this and I don't do that,
I think the only thing that's being suggested here, that the town likes peaked roof buildings versus flat roof buildings.
Okay,
That is the only thing that would really make it stand out from your standard box store that has a flat roof.
okay.
If it had some architectural elements like a peaked roof, those are things that I think the board is looking for,
Okay,
if it fits into your design criteria.
yeah.
I know they're expensive.
There was a building reference in the commercial section of your architectural, I don't know if it was the architectural guidelines, but it was like design guidelines that I was looking at, that had, like a it was like a mansard style roof.
Yeah, we've had them proposed and installed and permitted.
That just spoke to me because there was like a 2-story commercial building that was a photo, and I think it was referenced as good. I can't ever sort of tell, but it had that mansard style.
It's not a true gable roof with a pitch. A mansard roof does not look like a pitched roof with gable ends.
No.
No, and that's.
It wasn't Pizza Hut, was it?
No, that was referencing the signage as part of the architectural, and I was like, yeah, we're not doing that.
Just as a tip, the board likes to see buildings that are traditional, more traditional looking buildings than box stores like this doesn't tell us what it is, it's just a box.
Yeah, sure, I understand
We
what you're
don't know
saying.
what it is,
There's the
and
mansard
we're not gonna
there.
pass judgment on it until we see your architecture.
Understood.
So does the board wanna permit this applicant to down the parking by way of a waiver? Are we gonna hold his feet to the fire for parking? What are we gonna do with parking? 'Cause that seems,
I don't have an issue if they present the data that they have, because I think in general, we end up with too much parking on
so
some
that would be in the
retail
form of
stuff.
a waiver?
Yeah, that would be a waiver.
Be a waiver?
Yeah,
For
correct.
parking? We'd love to see something built though, so we're gonna try and work with you, so just hang in there. Anybody else? We're gonna have nobody here for a public hearing, but I have to formally open a public hearing, so stay where you are. At this time, we're gonna open a public hearing. Is anybody here to speak on this conceptual application tonight? Seeing none, we'll close public hearing, and we'll ask if you have anything else you'd like to add before you head home.
No, I just really appreciate the time. This is obviously very helpful for us before we get into things, so.
Great. Okay, fellas, thank you very much for coming in.
We'll see you next month.
If you want to bounce any ideas off.
Yeah, I'll send you once we adjust it with the things that we talked about, I'll send it to you just to get here.
Okay, good.
How long before you figure you might be coming back? Is it another month or two? Do you have any ideas?
He's gonna say tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I would say maybe a month or two. I think the other thing we have to pull is take a look at the traffic data, so that piece might take us a little time to pull together for the submission. And the sewer.
We talked about it when we met.
Okay, once he's aware of it.
Yeah, he's aware of the thresholds, the ADT thresholds. That would trigger a full report versus the memo.
Okay. Joanne, you have any other business for us tonight?
I don't.
Does anybody at the table have business for us tonight?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion on Phil's motion to adjourn? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passed. Thank you. Thank you, GTV, we're all done.
There was no reason to say it during that hearing, but negotiating that car wash turn and around is not the easiest thing in the world. I know all the standards were met, but if there's a few cars whipping around those turns in and out of there, to where
To
where-
pull into the car wash itself? Yeah.
Well,
Much-
when you pull in and you go around, you've got people going to the vacuums that are up, and then you've got people, and then they come around. I'm like, these are sort of
GTV,
tight.
we're all done, thank you.
The turn into the actual